All set up and ready to go here in close quarters battle Waterloo. We're going to be playing a scenario from the Sainte map. This is the British kind of defensive position, well, British and Hanoverian and German allies. It's kind of defensive positions around this farmhouse at Sainte. I apologize for the lighting. I'm going to try and block that out for you so that we can get a better view. I might be able to fix that in the next clip. So we've got the British under Wellington, who's up here. And we've got some Germans in here, in the orchard, in the farmhouse, and in its surroundings. Here's the sand pit. We've got the French coming from the south side up the Charleroi Road, and their objective in this scenario is to take the two victory point locations. So the first one is here, and the second one is here. We are going to get some some French entry. I think they're mostly coming from down here on the south side of the map. We might get some from Zone B, I'm not sure. But in any case, that is the objective of the scenario. And I chose this scenario because I would say it's a medium-sized scenario, and it's going to showcase a lot of what the system has to offer. We may get some cavalry in this scenario. We've got skirmishers. You see this French skirmisher line here. And we have rifles. We have basically a nice mix of all of the stuff that makes the system, and I feel it's a good way to show it off. So I'll go through and show you the procedures of how the game plays as we go forward. The defenders here around this farmhouse are actually quite well defended. First of all, we got these hedgerows and this orchard and all of these German rifle units here, which is going to be a huge problem to overcome. We've got some skirmishers, looks like Hanoverian, more Hanoverian rifle skirmishers out over here. And then we've got the British here in the sand pit. We've got this line of... this is the 95th. These would be light infantry coming down this road here, the Chemin de Champs. And then Wellington, obviously, with his HQ is here. We got some British artillery behind this abattis. And you'll notice that these terrain, they face the hex side that they are blocking. So this abattis is actually blocking right in front of these artillery. And then I think there's some other British artillery somewhere else, maybe over here in these cornfields or whatever, wheat fields. So this is the scenario. And this is what it looks like. We've also got both sides with a hand of event cards. We got some good stuff for Wellington and the British. We got some good stuff for the French, and I won't show you the hand, but I'll show you as we play kind of how those work and what they're going to do. A lot of different effects, low ammo, starting a fire, lots of stuff. So the first turn of this scenario is prescribed, and it begins from this activation deck, and it begins with the 54th line. 1st Brigade, 1st Infantry Division, they have to activate. And so I've already done their maneuver. They come out of the edge of the map here. This is Zone C that you see here. And they have 6 movement points. And so they move up. I had the option to bring them up along the road. This is a sealed road, sort of a semi-paved road. This would have allowed them to move 2 more movement points. But what I don't want to do is get within range of these German rifled skirmishers, light infantry here, because they're probably going to tear me apart. And also leave me open for counterattack from the Hanoverian rifled skirmishers up here. So I want to make kind of a slow, cautious approach. The one weak point to this defense, as you can see, the road is blocked here with another abattis. We have a closed gate to the farmhouse. This rear of this orchard where these hedgerows are, if I can figure out a way to get in here without taking too much fire, I might be able to breach these hedgerows to get into the orchard. And that would allow us to maybe move through this complex and try and clear the Anglo-Allies from this objective here. I'm also going to have to figure out how I'm going to get to this objective up here, and that's probably going to be with reinforcements, because the French do have a large stack of reinforcements coming into the game. This game is very easy to play. So here's the sequence of play, player aid. You just follow the steps. It's quite easy. When a formation activates, you check to see who's in command. If they have to recover morale, they do that. And then you just, the formation... or the units in the formation can choose an action. And the action summary is right here. There are 4 different types of actions. You move, you can do melee combat, you can do range combat, and you can do what are called die roll dependent actions, which is breaching a hedgerow, scaling a wall, that kind of thing. Removing obstacles on the map usually involves a die roll. There's some specific rules about if there's an enemy on the other side and so forth. So I am going to show you all this stuff as we go, and I've done the first activation here by moving the initial line from the 54th, the skirmishers up, and we're going to probably engage in some fire combat here. But let's see who gets the next activation. So we draw, and it's the 95th Rifles. So the 95th Rifles are way up here, and we are going to have them probably take some moves and get them moved up across this field. Into a position here to blunt any French attack coming from the road side of the farm. All right, I put a couple more activations. Here is the the KGL, I forget what that acronym stands for. My Napoleonic history is not great. King's German Legion, that's what it is, King's German Legion. So they're posted up in the orchard. These French skirmishers have gotten close with their first move. You can see action completed. And now we've activated the KGL, and we're going to have some fire combat. So the first thing I do is I declare all of the units of the formation, what they are going to do. And they have to be in command, and that just means they need to be with or adjacent to a leader in adjacent hexes. We've got one leader here, we've got a major here, and we've got some parts of the KGL here with a captain and a lieutenant over in this area. The only ones I think who are really going to do anything are these three up here. So we're going to take a shot at these French skirmishers. So we look at the unit's range combat value. It's this 5 here in the upper left. That is a white number in a black circle. That means they're armed with rifles. So we're going to use the rifle table. So we note that that's a 5. And then we add the leader's rating. That's +2. That's 7. So if we look here at the rifle table, it tells you how to do this. So we note his combat value 5, add or subtract modifiers, +2 for the leader. And then we look at the rest of this here. Now, the only other thing that's going to apply in these modifiers is the target is marked with a star because he is a skirmisher. As we see, this French unit there marked with a star. So we are a total of +2 and then -1 for the star. And then we're going to roll a die and add that die value to the number that we have. So we're +2 -1. And we are a 5. +2 -1 gives us a 6, and then we rolled a 3. That is a 9, and then we look at the range here. So we're 2 hexes away. We rolled a 9. That is light casualties. So we have put a light casualties marker underneath this skirmisher unit. His ranged combat and morale value is now -1, and now because he has taken light casualties, he has to make a morale check. I am mistaken. He does not have to take a morale check. Light casualties never necessitates a morale check. If he were to take light casualties again, that would be upgraded to a medium casualties. And I believe because he is a single company, that if he ever gets to medium casualties, he's just eliminated. But there will be morale checks involved with medium and heavy casualties, and we'll see that probably more as light infantry comes in. So we are going to do another range combat here with this company. We've also got some sharpshooters in there, but they can only affect leaders. Marksmen, not sharpshooters, marksmen. So who do we want to fire at? I probably want to fire at this guy. And do we have line of sight? So we can see there's some elevation changes here, 3 to 2. The elevation only matters if there's a difference of 3 elevation levels between the target and the shooter. So in this case, we can see these guys. It's really a gradual slope. We're going to fire here. Again, we look at the values. We have a 5. We don't have a leader in this hex, so unfortunately, we're not going to get the modifier there. And we're firing at skirmishers, so we're a -1 die roll modifier at 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes with our rifled units. We rolled a 2. That's a negative, and as you can see, 0 and 6 is always going to miss, no matter how far away you're firing, and so that is a miss. And now we will mark these units complete. I could do something with this guy if I feel like I want to move him to a different hex, maybe here, maybe I'll do that. An orchard hex is, what is orchard? Orchard, I guess it's trees. What would you call this? If we look at the thing here, orchard. 1 movement point, and it looks like ranged attacks into the orchard are -1, and you can see 2 hexes into an orchard. So if, for example, like this guy was, well, anyways, if I'm shooting this way, I can't, let's say there's no unit here, if I'm shooting this way, I couldn't shoot at this hex because there's 2 orchards intervening. So the way we do this is we spend our movement points, we go 1, 2 with the facing, 3 to go there, and now he's facing outside as we see the attack coming from the French skirmishers. And incidentally, the reason I'm marking all of these units action completed is that because opportunity fire in this game, you have to not have your action completed in order to do opportunity fire. So these guys, now that they have fired or done something, they can't do opportunity fire. Whereas if I had chosen, I believe, not to do anything, they don't have to have an action complete. I have to check. If the formation activates and doesn't do anything with their units, whether they still get action complete. I suspect they do, but I'll double check on that. By the discrete wording of the rules, it does appear that if you don't take an action with a formation, you don't have to put action completed on them, which means they can opportunity fire later in the turn. That, as far as I understand it. So that might be a reason why you wouldn't want to take an action with some of your formation, to leave them free to potentially take a shot if someone moves close to them. And by the way, you can do opportunity fire, I think, when a unit gets within 5 hexes of you. So technically, I could have, when these guys move closer, taken my opportunity fire, but I wanted to see how they were going to position, so it's okay. Let's go to the next action card. It is going to be the HQ staff under Wellington. He is way up here, and his HQ staff unit has no firepower, can move 10, it's mounted, it's always in command, and has 2 melee. It's really just a unit to support Wellington. The real question is, do I want to get Wellington stacked with anyone right now? And I don't think I do. I think we're just going to take a punt on that one, because he's right where I want him for now. We'll go to the next one, the Feldjägers. So that is going to be these guys over here. And I think I'm going to take a look at the reinforcement schedule, but I think what I want to do is I want to move these guys across this field, and I want to get them into engagement with these French skirmishers before they have a chance to converge on the orchard. Okay, so we've reached the end of the first turn of the scenario, and you can see we've had the 28th line, skirmishing line here from the French. They come out of this zone here, and that's where they ended their movement. I could have conceivably, he came, let's see, where did he come in? He came 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could conceivably have him try and take a shot at these guys, but it seems very unlikely that he would hit, even with my cards. So that is the end of the turn. We would check to see if any fires spread across the map, which there are none right now. If any captured leaders are around, they would try and escape, and we check that, they none. And then we're just going to remove all of the action completed markers from units to show that we're going into a new turn. I'll take care of that. All event cards that were unused, so the hand of cards that each side had, I think there's only one event card played, which is it's inspired. All of this gets shuffled back into the event deck, and then both sides are going to draw 5 new ones for use on the next turn. And then if any of the formations had been completely eliminated, you'd remove their card from the activation deck up there. And then we go up 1 turn, and we'll start again. We're going to get some French reinforcements this turn coming out of these same 2 zones. I did have a look. We are going to have, potentially, starting on turn 6, a check to see if French cuirassier cavalry comes out from this direction. So I do have to be careful that I don't leave this approach wide open. Now, cavalry, I don't think can do things like breach hedges and stuff like that, but they will definitely want to sweep up this way and hit the British. So the 95th has got to be in position for that. I want to make sure Wellington's not in the way. We've got some artillery up here that can hopefully shoot at them across this crops field here, but the French infantry is all coming from this direction. We're going to assault the grounds, the complex, kind of in this general area. So I'll get cleaned up. We'll start turn 2. All right, so here on turn 2, the first activation was pulled by the 95th Rifles, so they're kind of getting into position around the sand pit. I think what I want to do is I want to have them kind of arranged in this kind of shape, so that they've got a field of fire sort of in all directions, so they can potentially protect against cavalry, but I don't have to make that decision right now because we're still a little bit early. Next was the 28th Line Infantry. So this turn, the French are going to get a couple of new leaders, a colonel and a major, plus the rest of the battalions and regiments of this formation. So essentially the way the scenario starts is 2 of these units, here I'll show you. So you can see that 2 of these units have 3 figures on them. That's a full regiment or a full battalion of line infantry. And 2 of them are on the 2 side, so reduced, quote unquote. That's because both of those particular regiments or battalions have distributed their skirmishers forward, and that's what you start the scenario with, these skirmishers. Each regiment or battalion can create 2 skirmisher units, and so that's why they're on the map and start there, and that's why these guys follow along behind. These guys are much better quality than the skirmishers, but they do have to stay in command of their leaders. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to get these skirmishers up here into this tree hex, maybe take a shot at the Germans here, but as you can see, there's really nothing on this side of La Haye Sainte, of the road, that would prevent me from kind of coming in here and trying to breach these hedges, or even try and force open this closed gate at the farmhouse itself. There are some units in there, but I've got a full regiment, full battalion here. They've only got buildings can only hold 1 company, so it might be to my advantage to do that. And we just kind of tie down these guys in the orchard while the rest of the line comes up from behind. Maybe that'll force the 95th to have to come out and meet me. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to move them right now. here is a good example of sort of the real-time aspect and sort of back and forth with these 5-minute turns that this game is providing. So the KGL, King's German Legion, activated. They decided, well, at least this lead unit here under their commander, their major, decided to fire again at these skirmishers who are still caught out in no man's land. They did a hit. They did light casualties. So light casualties turns into medium casualties, and also this unit must make a morale check. So its morale now is a 3. They need to roll a 3 or less. But before that happened, the French played, after an on-map enemy shoots here, the enemy is exhausting their ammo supply, place a low ammo marker under the unit that fired, or a no ammo marker if they already have it marked as low. So this would have started to deplete the ammo of these skirmishers. However, the British had a response card in their hand. When an opponent plays an event card, anticipating the event, Wellington acts quickly to avoid disaster. The French card has no effect. So we cancel the French event using a British event. So those are one of the 3 that each side can play this turn. And that's how you can see how kind of, the unpredictability of what your unit capabilities are that you're hiding from your opponent. So that was the first one. I might take a shot here at one of these units, but I may also leave him for opportunity fire if these units decide to get closer. Or alternatively, if these guys turn to engage, then I might be able to opportunity fire as well. So that, I think, is what we're going to do. We did reposition this unit here. As you can see, to quote Star Wars, we've analyzed their attack pattern, sir, and there is a danger. This closed gate right here didn't actually have a unit guarding the other side of it. So I don't believe skirmishers can do an open gate action, but if the rest of this line infantry managed to get up to the building, I think they could have forced open the gate with no penalty. So I just wanted to protect that a little bit. And these guys, these German Legion units inside the farm feel like, these Hanoverians have their back out here. And so they decided to reposition and face the road. And of course, we can't forget, before I go on, that a skirmisher unit that suffers medium casualties, normally a morale check would be required, but because he's a skirmisher unit, he's actually just straight out eliminated. So that we have our first casualties of the game, French losing a skirmisher unit to fire out of the orchards of Sainte. The Hanoverian Feldjägers moved across this field and have come face to face with the 54th skirmisher line, forming their own skirmisher line. We had a couple of move and shoots, so that's one of the actions that you can take. Let me find that. So you can either do fire combat regularly essentially with only the default modifiers, or you can do what's called a move shoot. Oops, sorry about that. You can move and shoot in any order with penalties. So each movement point you use is deducted from the range combat value. So I moved up with this guy to right next to you, but I got a -3 because he moved 3 hexes. So unfortunately, and then shooting at the skirmishers another -1. So it's just basically a die roll. He failed. This guy moved up, and you can see he's got low ammo. He moved up with a move and shoot, and he played rapid fire, so he can fire twice. When conducting a range combat, including opportunity fire, a combination of training and concerted effort has paid off at a crucial time. So you can see the light infantry on the card. So I fired twice. One of the rolls was a miss, but the other roll was a 7. And that managed to, with modifiers, inflict light casualties on this skirmisher unit. Also, because I rolled a 7, it caused this unit to go to low ammo. So if he rolls another 7 or higher on an attack, this low ammo will go to no ammo, and he can no longer do range combat. So until he refills that ammo, and there are rules about that. There are cards that can do it, but as you can see, rapid fire, we use that. That was our second British event card for the turn, and we've only got 1 card left in the activation deck, and as it turns out, it is the 54th French line. They're going to be coming on with a bunch of regiments and battalions off this side of the map as well. So it's going to get a little gnarly for the Germans here protecting the sort of advance on Sainte. These guys are definitely going to want to reposition and fire, and we've also got some opportunity fire capability from the King's German Legion in the orchard, because some of these guys haven't used their fire combat yet, and so that's going to lead to some very interesting stuff as well. So the 54th skirmishing line kind of reformed to face off here against the Feldjägers, but as they were doing that, we did get some opportunity fire from the orchard, and it was this King's German Legion unit that fired here. He managed to do some light casualties on the skirmisher, so the French are really taking a pounding. However, the French had an event card. Play this card when an enemy unit in woods, orchard, crop, or building hex conducts range combat. He is in an orchard hex. Sparks from flints and gunpowder have set the terrain on fire. Place a fire marker in the hex and displace the unit. So this is going to be awesome, because these two guys here now have to retreat out of this hex because it's on fire. And there is a chance every turn that this fire will spread. And so we have ignited the orchard, and that's going to cause the the Anglo allies a whole ton of problems, because as the fire spreads, it might displace these units. They can attempt to take a firefight, a fight fire action to try and put it out. But for the meantime, it is burning. And so these guys have to retreat, and they are just going to go back here, and they will just keep getting displaced by the fire the longer it spreads. And we're going to check that at the end of the turn, which just so coincidentally happens to be right now. So the first thing we do at the end of a turn when we're checking on fire is we check to see if the fire goes out naturally. It will continue on a 0 to 3 die roll, so we're going to roll. And we rolled a 4. So this fire is going to burn itself out, and we need to get a thing for that. But even if it burns itself out, we have to check if it spreads. And so we consult this diagram here, and this is how we will see where it's going to spread. So let's take a look. We roll. Hopefully it spreads inside the orchard. We rolled a 4. It is going to spread inside the orchard. It's going to chase this guy that it chased out of that hex. So he's going to have to back up again, which is awesome. And we're going to move the fire here. So just the orchard is absolutely on fire here at Haye Sainte. And then we're going to put a burned out ruins marker there. And then next turn we'll check again. And as you can see, if fire stays on the board, you can get this like exploding conflagration across all of this stuff. And if it hits actually the building, it turns the building to rubble, which prevents any sort of cover bonuses that the units inside there would get. So the French, having the right card at the right time, have maybe improved their defensive or their chances here of getting into the compound. It's turned into absolute complete chaos around the farm on this third turn. The French skirmishers here were blown away by the Feldjägers because the British player played crack shots that allowed one of the units to get +2 to their value, and they actually straight out eliminated one of the full strength French skirmishers here. And then we got another hit here with light casualties that went to medium, so that both of these guys are gone. This guy is light casualty, so he's on the verge of breaking. Really good card there. The British actually had a really good hand, and they could only play 3 of the 5, so they had to pick and choose, but they used them all sort of in the first couple activations. The French then activated the 28th here, and the British played fouled, so all range combat by the 28th was going to be -1 this turn, and so that resulted in essentially some less effective fire, although they rolled lights out here with these skirmisher units. Unfortunately, this one's out of ammo, and this one's on low ammo, but we did manage to pour some casualties into this like fleeing German unit from this fire as he's like turned the wrong direction through the hedgerow. So we put light casualties on him, and he's got to be careful because the sharpshooter unit there, if this skirmisher or if this unit dies, the sharpshooter also is eliminated. And then we're moving up, and I want to try and clear this abattis if I can. But I want to get rid of this guy first. I thought about doing it this turn, but if I did that and moved there, this guy could just turn around and shoot me at point blank with rifles, and I don't want that. And then we continued to move up behind the skirmisher line with the 28th. I've decided with them, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to capture up here. I'm going to force the 95th around the sand pit to have to deal with these guys. And I did move the 95th into a little bit more of a linear position there. It's probably going to be a turn or two before we get into range. And what else? That's about it. The KGL, who is this formation here, they're up next, and I have to decide what I want to do with them. They're all facing the wrong direction. This guy was actually forced, he failed his morale check here, and he was forced to retreat. This is the one with the leader. He is also at medium casualties, so he is in a really bad way, and I'm probably going to, I don't know what I'm going to do there. He's going to have to check his morale. Here on the activation. He's got the leader bonus there, which is nice, but I do need to get these guys more consolidated because the French are going to overrun them in the orchard if they don't. We're going to have our first melee combat here, and I wanted to show you how that works. It's actually quite simple, like most of the rest of the game. So we have got a couple of companies here in column formation. When you have multiple companies in a hex, either via one counter or many, you have to be in column formation, and we're going to declare a melee here. Now, these guys normally would get opportunity fire if they hadn't acted, but they've already acted to fire and eliminate the French skirmishers, so they can't do anything about this. So first we have to roll a morale check for each side to see if either of them break. So we're going to do that now. We're going to roll. The French passed their morale check with a 5. Unfortunately, the Anglo allies fail their morale check with an 8. And now I have to see what happens with a pre-combat morale check. It's a morale failed 1, retreat 3 hexes. So this skirmisher unit is going to go, let's see, probably, let's go 1, 2, 3 back to here. And so then we may advance if we would like to, and I'm not sure if I do. Yeah, I don't think I want to, because then I'd be out of command, so I don't want to do that. So then we're going to do another melee combat here, and we're going to roll that morale check. Both sides pass. Great, that's what I wanted to see. So with both sides passing their morale check, now we have to roll the melee combat. Both sides roll in a melee combat, and you are going to basically total the melee strength. Here we have a 6, here we have a 3. That's going to get added to a die roll. There's some modifiers. If there were any leaders, you would add their melee combat bonus that aren't here. If you had a series, if you had a column of multiple companies, then you would get +1 for each company because the unit ratings are just for a single company. But in this case, because the units are fully integrated into one counter, you don't have that. Things like terrain, if infantry, when they did their morale check, moved, because when you do an attack, a melee attack, you're allowed to move 3 hexes. And if you moved at least 1 hex, you get a charge bonus of +1. If you're attacking up elevation or if there's casualties, then you don't get anything. So let's go ahead and roll. So with all of the modifiers here, we're getting +1 for the French, -1 for the Anglo allies. That's not great. So, or not -1, we're just getting a flat roll. So 3 + 3 is 6, 7 + 1 for the charge is 8 + 5. 13, that difference, 13 to 6 is a difference of 7. And the unit with the lower total combat value has a company eliminated. Here's the chart. You're basically doing a comparative roll against each other, and based on how much you win by, that's the results that you get. If there are leaders, you might do a leader killed check. Here's some notes about casualties and modifiers. It's a very simple process. In this case, we have straight up eliminated this guy. He's dead. And now we can advance, and I will advance. We'll go here. There we go. Good French assault coming through. We are about halfway through turn 4, and the Anglo-Allied artillery is actually doing a lot of work. And at this scale in this system, artillery is actually quite powerful. Each hex is, I think, 25 meters. So not very far apart from one another. This artillery unit here, this artillery unit here can basically fire anywhere on the map that they want to with rockets or howitzer. And then even just linearly with like round shot or canister, you can hit. I mean, canister range on this thing is like way out to here. So this is not a far distance. Eliminated a skirmisher from the 55th here. But the thing I want to call your attention to here is a perfect storm of French event cards. At the beginning of the turn, the French had gate left open. Play this card at the start of a turn. A gate has been left open. The Anglo-Allied player must open 1 gate that is uncontested and leave it open this turn. That was here, so we flipped, sorry about the focus, we flipped the closed gate, which was here, into the open gate orientation. That means now we can melee through there. And then we played stealth. Play when a friendly formation activates. I did that when the 28th activated. Your opponent's men are preoccupied, allowing some of your troops to sneak up on them. Opportunity fire cannot be used against one of your units. And the unit I used that on was this one. He crept up through this field and then across, and now he is here like this. Could not be reacted to. And then finally, I declared him making an assault through the gate. And finally, to the death. When initiating a melee combat, with a shout of "No prisoners," your men fearlessly charge the enemy. And then check for morale for defender only. So you don't have to roll yours. So let's check that. So if we look here through the open gate, we're attacking here. And there's nothing, you can't actually assault into a building unless there's some sort of opening. So even though these guys are here sort of looking out these windows, nothing doing there. So let's check the morale for the unit here. He's a 5. That is a fail result. So this unit, suddenly finding himself in front of an open gate, has failed his morale check and retreats in fear. And he will go, let's have him go, he's got to go into the building 1, 2, And I don't actually think he can exit. He's got to go at least 3. And 1, 2, I got to look and see what happens. I think he would displace this guy out into the garden and wind up here, as far as I can tell. But I'll double check that. In any case, we don't even need to do the attack. We can just take ground, and I'm absolutely going to move in to the building here. Now we're getting into like building to building fighting with these units. So the French have a beachhead inside La Haye Sainte, and we'll see if we can capitalize on that, really just overrunning the Anglo-Allied position around the compound. So, as it turns out, with the retreat rules, when you are retreating in a building, you can literally just go 1 hex. Normally, a retreat is 3 hexes or up to your movement value. But if you're retreating into a building, which this unit was, you can see that this is a building with the dot in the center here, you are allowed to stop. So you can kind of like take cover in the building. So now we've got kind of a face-off here with these French skirmishers inside versus some King's German Legion line troops. The French have made it to the sand pit, and they are throwing out a furious assault against the British line of the 95th Infantry, and are absolutely annihilating them. We've had some very poor opportunity fire rolls from the troops, and the French made a couple of close assaults, forced one of the units back. They failed their morale check and retreated, but the other 2 English companies were utterly annihilated by the French assault. The French taking their losses as well from the 28th. Here we've got a couple of companies eliminated there. We separated a bunch of the columns into battle line because I thought I was going to try and pour some fire into the sandpit, but I just felt like I was going to go for it. So we've got the final attack coming here. We've got the major of the 28th. Well, I don't know, major, what's a French name? Anyway, he's going to be attacking Wellington, but Wellington first gets, his unit anyways, gets some opportunity fire. He's going to take it. He rolls not great again. So we are adding 4 for the rifles, 3 for Wellington's bonus. That is 7, and then we rolled a 2. That is a 9. I think that's still enough to hit, actually. If we look here on rifle, we're adjacent, so 9 is going to be light casualties. Not enough to cause a morale check, unfortunately. So we are going to go hand-to-hand with Wellington along the road. So that goes there. And then we're going to resolve this. So we have to roll a morale check for both sides. They're probably both going to pass because they both have leaders. Yep, they both do. And then, so if we calculate this, we are 5 for this unit minus 1 for the casualties is 4. And then plus 2 for the leader is 6. 6 for the French, 4 for the English, 4 for the, and 7 for the British there. So plus 6 for the French, plus 7 for the French. Ooh, God, that's a nasty roll for the French. So 9 for the French and 15. So it's a difference of 6. So I think that's going to be heavy casualties. It's going to be, yeah, heavy casualties. So we take heavy casualties here. We have to check, I think, to see what happens to the leader. So that's going to, yeah, actually, this is pretty bad. So so first we check the fate of the leader, or the French leader. He rolled an 8. He's probably killed. What is he? Is he on horseback? Yeah, he is on horseback there. Which I think actually he cannot be on horseback. I'd have to double check the rules. He might have to be flipped over to his other side. In either case, an 8 is going to be leader killed, regardless of whether he's on horseback or foot. So this guy, this major, is going to be killed. He will be downgraded into another leader. However, the French have a card, and it is this one, unharmed. When a leader has been killed by die roll or card, whether by luck, skill, or divine intervention, a fatal blow has been avoided. Avoid killing the leader. So we're going to use that French event card there to keep the major. Actually, well, yeah, it doesn't actually matter when I use it, because what's going to happen here is this company who's taken heavy casualties is actually going to be eliminated, and if a company with a leader is ever eliminated, the leader is also eliminated. But we can play the card then if we want, I guess. Either way, I'm going to have to downgrade him. There are 2 instances of him dying, so he's going to become, I think a major becomes a lieutenant, and I'll have to find a counter for that, and I'll put him on a different unit here. So Wellington blasting away at the French assault. And that's what you get when you have the best leader on the field here along the sandpit. The French now have to just finish up the activation with their skirmishers down here. We're going to try and get rid of this abattis and let the 55th come up the road and continue the assault. We are entering turn 7 here at La Haye Sainte, and it's turning into a French routing of the Anglo-Allies. And it's only going to get worse. We did successfully roll for the French cavalry to enter, the chasseurs, and they're going to be able to sweep in from this direction and cavalry charge these formations here, which these are, I think, Hanoverians, I believe, and they managed to stabilize the Anglo-Allied right, and they actually did a lot of damage to the French 54th on this turn, blew away a couple of companies. And they were in the process of kind of seizing back the momentum over here, but with all these cavalry entering, these guys are going to have to probably go into square. Hopefully, it's going to really depend on what comes out of the activation deck and in what order. If they don't get a chance to go into square, these cavalry are just going to overrun them, and then that's going to be goodbye Anglo-Allied right. The Sandpit guys are in trouble. Wellington is like right in the thick of it there. He's just with a single company on that road. So again, order of activation really going to matter here. Can the Anglo-Allies get the first activation? Can they pull back? Can they force the French out of there? It just seems like there's too many French. These guys are skirmishers, so they're not that powerful, but we've got a column here of a couple companies, and we got some really strong French leadership. The Anglo-Allied guns here will be able to do some canister shot over the top of the sandpit if they're able to go first. So it's really all going to come down to the initiative. Despite the fact that we're 7 turns in, the Anglo-Allies still control both objectives, and the King's German Legion is holding tight inside the farmhouse complex here. They are going to try and get this gate closed this turn and force the French to come around into the garden. And then we've got a pretty strong defensive position there as well to try and protect against that. You can see that some of the 54th have hopped the hedge and are going to try and force their way in from that direction. And that's really the only way to get in, unless someone challenges the gate. If the French somehow manage to win the initiative with the 55th, they are going to come up here and try and do an attack through that gate and seize that objective. The French, only 4 turns left to get both objectives. This one is going to be a lot easier because it looks like the 28th are going to overrun the sandpit. But again, comes down to the initiative. So should be a good time. I'm really having fun with this. The battlefield situation is dynamic. It's pretty deadly. If we look at the casualties, here's all the French losses. 1, 2, 3, 4 companies from the 54th, plus their brigadier, who's the main French commander, I guess, in this battle, died. 3 skirmisher units, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more companies from the 28th, plus the skirmisher, and the 55th has taken some lumps as well. And very few casualties, actually, from the Anglo-Allies. They just don't have a lot of units. And you can see here some of the Feldjägers, some of the King's German Legion from early in the game, and then we did have a couple of the 95th on this last turn get mowed down. So swinging towards the French here as we enter sort of like the home stretch of the game, and we'll see what the cavalry can do. Yes, he has fallen. Wellington going down in the sandpit with the rest of the 95th Rifles after a furious French barrage. It was just the fire coming out of these skirmishers and the infantry unit that was here was just overwhelmingly amazing rolling. And it's looking like the French are going to sweep this scenario up and kick the British out of the La Haye Sainte neighborhood. Now, historically, this part of the battle was met with a British heavy cavalry charge from this direction that scattered a lot of these formations. Here you can see the French cavalry. They had a charge coming up from this direction, but between the cards and the morale check rolls, the Feldjägers were able to pull back and not have to suffer too badly at the hands of French cavalry. Even inflicted some losses here on those columns. But other than the King's German Legion, who are utterly besieged inside the farmhouse, and the 55th is trying to break their way in. They did manage to close the gate, so we have to get that gate open. But thankfully, we have the Lieutenant Vieux, who can put a DRM on a gate breach action, so we're going to try that this coming turn. Other than that, we got some British artillery. We got the remnants of the Anglo-Allied troops. The 95th Rifles are gone. It's looking like it's going to be a French win. I'm going to play one more turn. The French did manage to capture the road objective up here, and to win the scenario, they need to capture this one here. If they can successfully do that, there's really no pushback that the Anglo-Allies can provide in this scenario anyway. You can see if we played the other one, how much cavalry the British would get coming in. But there's no way to link the scenarios together, which is kind of interesting. They're kind of all different little snapshots of the assault, of the battle. So if we were to play the next scenario in order, the cavalry would come down here, but we'd have far less French units on the map. Basically, we'd have some infantry in the orchard, and then these 2 cuirassiers, I guess they'd be regiments. So yeah, that's where we are. I'm going to finish this up, and then I'm going to do another video about this game shortly. Final turn of the game, and the French still unable to get into the farmhouse. The Germans inside, making it incredibly difficult. Losses for the Anglo Allies mounting heavily. You can see the French control the entire left flank here, a cavalry charge sweeping in this way and driving out the remains of the German infantry that were covering that flank. Ironically enough, the British did get their ammunition wagons this turn on the final turn. It would have helped the turn earlier. This guy has no ammo, but part of the big problem that the Anglo Allies were facing the last couple turns is that they had expended all their ammo, so they were not able to opportunity fire when, for example, they got cavalry charged. So we do get this Royal Wagon Train unit on the map. He can refill ammo for units without it. I believe that some of these artillery units may also be out of ammo. Yeah, this guy is out of ammo as well. He's the artillery that blasted away around the sand pit. So we can try and refill that. Again, initiative order is really going to matter about who goes first. These cavalry here, if they can pass a morale check because they're at a command, they'll be able to charge. We've started a fire in the farmhouse and forced the Germans to back up. So now we don't actually have to bust open this gate. We can just move straight into this hex and be in the building, and then maybe hopefully assault into the courtyard. There will be some opportunity fire, but firing into buildings, well, this is rubble, but there's some defensive benefit to rubble. But if we can climb over this rubble and attack that unit and displace it, we could win on this final turn. That's going to involve this brigadier leading the charge himself with this column from the 55th, who has heretofore not done a whole lot in this battle. So I'm going to play out the final turn, and we'll show you where we end up. It's looking like if the Germans can hold the farmhouse, it will be against all odds, an Anglo-Allied victory. And then, of course, as we know, heavy cavalry charge from the British from this direction, driving the French back. So let's see if we can preserve history. Let's see if these guys can gut it out one more turn. All right, here we go. The final assault on the farmhouse. We just activated the 55th. That's the orange formation here. There's rubble here. We are going to play stealth so that we cannot take opportunity fire, which would happen if we were to walk into these buildings. So this unit is not going to encounter any fire combat, and it's going to be able to make its charge. So we're going to go 1-2 into the rubble. We're going to pay 1 to change facing in column. You can face any direction as long as you pay the 1, and that is 3 movement points, and that is how much we are allowed to do to then make an attack into the garden, into the courtyard, with this column of units. So normally we wouldn't be able to enter a building with more than 1 company, but because we have turned it to rubble thanks to the fire, we are going to be able to come in here. And I'm just looking for a marker that is going to indicate that we are about to, there we go. We are going to complete its action by assaulting. So we have to make a morale check for both sides. Let's see how that goes. I think both sides passed. Let's see. Yeah, that guy barely passed. Otherwise, he would have retreated. We definitely passed with our brigadier leading from the front. And now we're going to do the melee combat roll. So if we add it up, we have the German unit here with +1, +5, +6 to their roll. They rolled a 14. And we have the French here with a +9. Minus the casualties, +8, but we do get a +1 for having spent 3 movement points and moving a hex, so +9, and we rolled a 0, unfortunately. So 14 to 9 is a difference of 5, and the unit with the lower value takes heavy casualties. Oh boy, French just can't buy a break, so he's going to take heavy casualties. He already has light casualties, so that's just going to convert into a company removal. We also have to check to see if the brigade leader is killed. No effect to him. So unfortunately, this assault does not go as planned. We're going to lose a company from that unit, and we're going to be stuck there. The only upside to this is that now we are considered engaged with this unit, so when he goes, he is going to have to attack back. Because the melee did not result in someone retreating or being eliminated. So it's kind of like a hand-to-hand continuing fight happened there, so he's going to have to hit me. All right, we've reached the end, and it was just too late for the French. They were not able to dislodge the Germans taking cover inside the courtyard of the farmhouse. We did manage to dislodge and destroy the German company that was in the building, but there were just not enough turns left in the game, and I had forgotten that actually the King's German Legion was the first formation that activated on this turn, and so even though they were forced to counterattack if they were up, they would not have come up again for another turn until the following turn, and as you can see, we're out of turns. So it is a very, very narrow victory for the King's German Legion, perhaps inspired by the fact that their commander, the Duke of Wellington, died in the sandpit during the assault, and held on for dear life. So they, I think one more turn and the French are absolutely going to smash through. We've got a company here who can attack. Both of the French leaders here are quite powerful, and they would probably be able to dislodge them and take control of the farmhouse. Unfortunately, by the rules of the game, despite the heavy losses for the Anglo-Allies and the French for that matter, it was a really bloody affair. It is an Anglo-Allied victory. They managed to hold the key point on this battlefield long enough, and starting, I guess, with the next turn, if there was some sort of chronological thing here, you'd get the heavy cavalry charge and perhaps throw the French into disarray. The only units left on the map, we had these two King's German Legion companies here. We had the one of the Royal Artillery crews had to abandon its guns in the face of a cavalry charge. And we had the ammo wagon who showed up at the very end of the battle with some ammo for this KGL, this King's German Legion unit, who had retreated with no ammo back to the road. And in fact, it was actually, if we had gone further, actually the Anglo-Allies could have actually recaptured this objective hex potentially. There were no French here garrisoning it or blocking it. And so if we had another turn, even though if we had taken the farmhouse, we probably would have run out of time to take that. So some poor play on my part there, but I managed to hold out long enough. I learned that trying to take these building positions is just a giant pain in the ass and very expensive in manpower to storm a building in this system. That's why the body count is so high. You had opportunity fire coming out of the windows the entire time that the French were trying to bust their way in there. Cavalry, very powerful. I never got the chance to go into square, mostly because a lot of these units that the Anglo-Allies had here were single companies, and you need at least 2 companies to go into square. And also the way that the cards came out for the activations, I was never able to go before the cavalry for whatever reason. It's just the way the deck was drawn out. So that's the end here. Anglo-Allied victory at Haye Sainte, although at what cost? I'm going to do a separate video about my thoughts about this game, but I did really have a lot of fun playing this for the first time and getting used to what's going on here. It's a very easy to play game.